for me?
Well, you didn't stop it, did you? We should be live now, Steve.
Okay, I'm refreshing. I'm refreshing the screen.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, we're there.
Paste it in the chat for me. There we go. All right, make sure you mute YouTube.
Yeah, I got it. Oh, it's muted.
Hey, everybody out there.
So we are live then, eh?
Yep, we're live. We're live on the Trucker channel.
Hey, everybody. There really is no topic here, no purpose. We're just kind of hanging out, you know, trying to have some fun. So, what have y'all been up to, Steve? What have you been up to, man?
Yeah, not much really. Just kind of chilling out. I haven't really been able to get a lot of mixing done lately. Aaron and I finished up the show on Friday. We did 2 shows this week actually, and that was pretty fun. And then basically just kind of ran out of things and mixed a lot of stuff up, doing reviews of other mixes and stuff. So yeah, it's been fun. But I definitely got to I got to sit down today and think about a few things if I'm gonna mix something up or um, review some other mixes that catch my eye. So it's definitely something I like doing. Um, I like reviewing other mixes and see how they're putting things together to kind of understand how they're doing things and stuff. So I think it's a good learning a good learning tool for me as well. That'll help me in my mixing and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to. So yeah,
It
hey,
is.
Simon.
That's a great way to learn, especially things that you may not realize will do certain things in a mix. You can kind of break down their mix and see why this tastes this way or why that's going on, and that kind of helps you out too. Well, Stalker, what have you been up to this week, man?
I mixed up a few mixes. I played with a couple to change them that I mixed up before. I mixed up this a banana cream caramel. I mixed up a few weeks ago. That's by Aaron on ATF, and they don't have melty caramel, and I thought that would be nice in it because I've tasted it, so I put a little bit in it, and it's not too bad. I've played with. I was trying to make a bounty bar. The first mix was a bit light, so I found out on ELA you can press the spanner thing, and you can go down and you can adjust the total end percentage, so it bumps everything up evenly. So I tried that. It's come along better. I think it needs just a little bit more. The chocolate needs to be booted up a little bit. What else was mixed up? Oh yeah, and a s'mores one. That's by Keglar on ATF. That's quite nice. There's nice s'mores, nice banana one. But yeah, that's been about it this week, really. I got to start. I want to really start playing with the flavors.
Yeah, I haven't mixed. Well, I mixed a few things up this week, but it was all like stuff that I know I'm going to vape for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
I seen a post on DIY or Die on their Facebook group today where somebody they're just worried, sick. They're really concerned over these deaths that they are saying are being caused by vaping. I know Fresh talked about it last night. He talked about it again today on his show. so we don't need to go into a lot, but for anybody who doesn't, okay, the CDC has said that they have found that these are related to liquids that contain THC. They have found several places they have vitamin E acetate in them, which is an oil.
Yep.
Okay. And so my best advice, okay, it's not the stuff that we're mixing up. It's not the stuff that you're going to buy in a store. If you are going, okay, I have no issue if you want to vape THC. There are reputable companies that you can buy that from, and you'll be fine. They've been doing it for a long time. Just don't buy stuff off the street that you don't know who made it, what they put in it, where you literally have no idea what's in that liquid. So just be safe. Think smart. Don't try to save $1. Buy from a reputable manufacturer, and you'll be fine. I will say this also. If you're vaping and you have respiratory issues and you notice, for instance, I don't have respiratory issues, but when I vape cinnamon, cinnamon makes my chest kind of tight. So I don't vape cinnamon. I mean, it's pretty common sense stuff.
Peanuts make me cough a bit.
Yeah. I mean, either one of you two got anything else to add to that?
No, just buy off genuine people. If you're buying those, you can buy those isotones or whatever they're called over in America. DIY or Die, he's got some videos on that. Check him out, Wayne. He got a few videos out on that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah.
I haven't watched them because hell, over here in Australia you can't do that sort of stuff anyway. So yeah, but I know he has got some stuff on those on that and actually putting it into recipes.
Right.
Yeah, no, as far as me, I talked about it on our show on Friday. Yeah, and pretty much agree with the same thing. Don't buy from any source that you're not familiar with. Definitely don't buy the crap off the street. Stay away from that stuff. Go to known safe vendors. You know, as far as THC is concerned, I wouldn't touch the stuff myself. I mean, unless you have a genuine medical need for it and everything like that, stay away from it. It's, I wouldn't advise it. But to each their own, but in saying that, I mean, you do need to take your precautions. You do need to do your research. You do need to look into things to see what brands are out there that are causing problems out there in the States now. They had one of them was called Dank. They've been showing pictures of it, what they look like, so you know what to stay away from. If people are, passing that around out on the streets or anything, try to use some common sense. Be smart about what you're doing.
But they're all bloody kids.
Yeah, the majority. Yeah, yeah. No, it's sad because it puts unfortunately, since people are using this in vaping products, they are creating a problem for the rest of us in this community that have had no issues and had no problems. And this technology has helped save our lives. Okay. And it's sad when things like this come along because it completely just puts, a bad message about vaping period out there to everyone. And you get a bunch of knee jerk reactions from people that don't know any better and just go, oh, vaping's bad. And it's bullshit because too many people out there are sheep. Okay. They're not willing to do their research. They're not willing to look into it. They just want to blindly believe what the media tells them. It's just a blanket ban. It's bad, right?
Well, yeah, we had a nurse come here to see my daughter the other day, one of those pregnancy nurse things, and she confronted me about it. She brought up the story about that kid that swallowed the nicotine here in Australia.
Yep.
I showed her the whole lot, and I said, yeah, it's how the kid got hold of the bloody stuff is wrong. The parents should be in a lot of trouble for that. But yeah, I showed her how everything's staked up, and like when the baby comes, it's only born, so it's not going to be crawling around. Everything's up high, locked away, and I said it's a lot. It is. It's a lot. You know, it's not what you're hearing in the bad stuff. So she's actually going to go home and research it.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
that's the general consensus of most of the public is they only see the bad, negative things, and that's what sticks in their mind. It's not about what we're doing, what's legal in what we're doing, and what we've been doing for a long time that's helped us that they're not seeing.
Right. And I mean, okay, if you're not a vapor, how likely are you to read a news article about vaping? Right? You're not really going to. Chances are you're not going to pay any attention. You're going to see the headline, vaping kills 4, and you're automatically going to say, hey, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Now I'm against vaping. Right. And I think that's part of the reason why the news stories, why the titles are worded the way they are. It's to get noticed and put thoughts in people's mind.
Yeah.
I mean, and I agree. While it is still vaping, I think it's all. I think it's sad that it all gets kind of lumped together. You know, the CBD, the THC, the regular e-liquid. It all gets lumped together as vaping, and I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah, it is. And the bad thing is that any negative media press or anything negative in relation to vaping, be it deaths or this issue with this THC and stuff like that, is the main problem is that the media just bulks it into vaping bad, and that's all people hear, and it's sad. But unfortunately, that is exactly the way it goes.
Yeah.
And what's happened, and yeah, it's pretty sad. It's unfortunate
It
because it
is,
makes the rest
and
of us that have experienced it and know how good it is, you know, yeah, it's just tarnishes it so badly.
yeah, well, and that's what I told a guy the other day. He said, "Man, ain't that stuff bad for you?" I said, "Well, I said I could point you to countless studies where it shows that vaping is better, that it's safer for your body. It's not 100% safe. Anybody that tells you that is lying to you." I'm like, but I can tell you my personal experience. When I was smoking, I woke up every morning gagging, coughing, all kinds of stuff in my chest and in my throat. I would have to smoke 3 or 4 cigarettes first thing in the morning to get all that out of my system,
Yep.
just so I could breathe without wheezing. Okay, I don't have that issue now. That issue is completely gone. Um, I don't get out of breath walking from here to the restroom, or 53 foot to the back of my trailer. I'm not out of bed. I feel better. Again, anybody that's doing this, I don't think anybody's saying that it's 100% safe. We don't know, but it's damn sure not as bad as smoking.
Well, I'm only a new vapor myself. I've only been vaping since I think it's about September, October, August, September, October last year. One of those. And I noticed a big change in it. I was the same. I could hardly breathe. And yeah, lots of things are improved by giving up the smokes. I did go back to cigarettes not too long ago for reasons that we know about. And I've been off them now for 3 days. I went back on them for about a month, and I've been off them again 3 days. I was dual using while smoking. I did have a lapse, but the big thing is not to give it up. Oh, not to give the vaping up, I mean. And I'm now 3 days without the smokes, and yeah, I'm going to push on.
Yeah, I remember when.
Yeah, well, I mean that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I remember when I first started.
Go ahead, Steve.
I had a chest infection when I was smoking. Well, at least I thought it was a chest infection. Um, I had gone back to the doctor twice to get, two lots of antibiotics and everything because I kept coughing up and it wouldn't stop. And I was worried that eventually I would start coughing up blood. For me, it was more of a medical scare to find an alternative solution to smoking that got me off the cigarettes. Um, and the funny thing was, 2 weeks after, the antibiotics didn't do anything, but then 2 weeks after I'd quit smoking and I'd been vaping, I stopped coughing. Nothing was coming up out of my lungs. I wasn't having any issues. I wasn't having any problems. And it's never occurred since then. So since October 2013, it's never happened again ever. And I'm like, well, how could it? I mean, I've never felt better. I've never felt out of breath. I've never had any issues. I've never had any problems since I've been doing this. So it's like, how has it not benefited in over 5 years, 5+ years now? How has it not benefited me? Um, I started off in DIY when I first got started, but there wasn't a community around at the time that I remember, and I found it very difficult. It's like, how do you know how to mix what and everything? I did find some hints and tips and tricks, and I was mixing up a few things here and there and stuff. And I only remember like 5 flavor houses at the time when I started. Everything's exploded now. Um, but when I was doing it, yeah, it was pretty simple. But then again, I was using ego pens and little CE tanks and stuff like that. And of course, I had to start off on 24 milligrams of Nick just to kick off the cigarettes back then. So I wouldn't have imagined, because I had to go so high, I wouldn't have imagined that I was getting very much of that nicotine, right? I had to run it up high to get where I needed to be just to kick off the cigarettes and everything. But I tell you what, there isn't a day that I don't regret quitting and then going to vaping. There isn't a day that I don't regret it.
Absolutely. Now, if anybody has any questions in chat, feel free to ask them. Try to tag me or Stalker or Steven in them down the rabbit hole. That way we'll see them. Hey, Goose Girl's here. So let's see who's in chat. Mike Morris, Tam Vapes. Adam Pilarzik was here. He's gone now. Fidalgo. Vaping Lizard, Aaron. I don't know if you're still here. Odin. Howdy, everybody. Thanks for joining. Like I said, just kind of a loose show. Not really any subject at this point. Just kind of sitting around talking, seeing where things go. On that note, if you all have an idea of something that you would like to see in a vape show, topics that need to be covered, things that need to be demonstrated, whatever, let us know. We're doing this for you all. That's why we do what we do. Now, Stalker, you'd said pre-show that you had some questions, buddy. What you got?
Yeah. Now, like I've already just started mixing myself. I'm not mixing along at all. Now, you see these recipes. Some are 50-50 PG, VG. Some are 70-30, 80-20. Now, what makes the difference? I know it's going to be the velocity of the oil because PG is thinner than VG. I understand all that side of it. Tanks, you can't really go max VG. I've got RTAs. Plus, I've got the squonk dripper ones and whatnot, and the wife's got a pod. Now, what does it actually do to the flavour? Say there's a recipe that's 50-50 PG VG, and you want to make it 70-30 PG VG or VG PG, however it goes. I know it's 70% VG. Now, what does that actually do to the mix itself, the flavour and that sort of side of it?
Okay. Typically, the more PG, you're going to have more of a throat hit
Yeah.
and less cloud production. Um, the VG is where you get your clouds from. So a max VG juice is going to get you bigger clouds than, say, a 50-50 mix. Flavor wise, PG is a better carrier for flavor than what the VG is. The VG will do it, but it's going to take longer to steep. So the more VG in the mix, usually the longer it takes to steep out the flavor.
All right.
I've even heard of cases. I mix them the same regardless, but I've even heard of some cases where if you use a ton more VG than what the recipe called for, you may need to up the flavors a little bit. But in my finding, it just means that they have to steep longer. That's all that means.
Okay. So it's nothing. It's not like super critical.
No, no, no. A lot of it is personal preference and the device that you're using.
Yep.
Most of the tanks now can handle 730, 70, 30, 80, 20 pretty easily.
Yep.
But the older tanks, you couldn't do that, right? The older tanks, they were mixing like 60-40 because the tanks wouldn't wick up the liquid quick enough. So you would get dry hits. But if you take that 60-40 and put it in a dripper, it's just going to run everywhere.
Yep.
Right. So you needed you needed both worlds. Nowadays, the tanks have kind of caught up, in my opinion.
Yeah, except pods. Pods have always been 50-50, haven't they?
I believe so. I think the pods are still 50-50.
Well, I bought the wife on those Caliburns or however you pronounce that one. That's actually a damn good pod. I'm surprised. And I've got a 70-30 mix in one of the pods, and I've got a 60-40. And the 70-30, and it's wicking up not too bad and no dry hits.
Yeah, that's what I run. That's what I run in these the Wotofo profile unity mesh. I'm running a 70-30 mix and everything, and I just find out it works really well for me, and that's what I've stuck with forever.
Yeah, well, I forgot to change hers down to 60-40 because I do remember hearing the pods need to be thinner, but because all mine's 70-30 in all my tanks. I got the Blotto, I got the Rebirth, and I got the Tor and Beast. Plus, I've got all my drippers as well. But yeah, it seemed to do it all right. But I am trying to bring hers down.
Well, and I was going to say something to consider. If she's not getting any dry hits, then you're probably okay where you are. Some people, they get the satisfaction from that feel of the vape in their lungs, right, from the thickness. So if you lower it too much, then it's not going to be as satisfying for some people. So I would say if she's not getting hits like where there's no flavor or it tastes burnt, you're probably okay where you are as far as your ratio on your liquid.
Because she's only a very new vapor. She was still smoking while I was vaping, and that's sort of why I did go back to the cigarettes because I was just sitting here in the house. But they're they're nearly $100 a packet of tobacco over here now.
Wow. My other half smoked while I vaped. And every once in a while I would, I'd have a cigarette with him. But I finally got him to swap over to vaping. And then he said, you know what? I just quit. And he hasn't smoked a cigarette since.
Cool.
So I guess some people can just put them down just like that. I applaud him for it, but that's not me.
Yeah, well, the wife's only been 3 days.
Yeah, when I first quit, I was smoking and vaping, so I was dual use. And I hear so many people do that as well. I was a dual user at first, And what I eventually found was that I was vaping way more than what I was smoking. I used to go through a pack to a pack and a half a day, depending on depending on the day. And then I remember after about a week or two on the vape, I still had half a pack of cigarettes left, and I'm like, holy shit, this is working. This is actually working. And I just got to the point to where I just crushed them up and I threw them out and I said, you know what? I'm done with it. I'm over it, man. And that's when I started mixing up a bunch of my own stuff as well as buying some commercial stuff back in the day. And I still remember grape and cherry flavor. And the cherry flavor actually wasn't medicinal at the time. I mean, I forget, it was a company out of the United States. It was coming with my I would tell them how much Nick I wanted in it. And I forget the name of the company. But I remember getting like 60 or 120 mils. It would last me, for more than a month back then, and I was just doing grape and cherry flavors at the time, and it was perfect and it worked. I mean, it got me away from it. I remember I was doing, and I was also doing a little while after that is when I found the Blackfire. And I was mixing up the Blackfire, honey tobacco kind of thing. And I loved that. And I was vaping the crap out of that. And eventually I just got to the point to where I was like, I got burnt out on tobacco. And it's like, I just don't enjoy it anymore. It's just not really something that I'm keen on anymore. And I kind of gravitated away from it. And wanted other things like cereals and bakeries and fruits and things of that nature instead of going back to the tobacco. Now, everybody knows Benno, really good guy. And, he sent me his smoked. Um, awesome. It was absolutely awesome. But it still didn't want it still didn't make me want to go back to tobacco as well. It was an awesome juice and I really did enjoy it and it was nice. I just didn't feel like the need to go back to tobacco. It's like for me it's just kind of it was still kind of something that I didn't feel like I wanted to go back into or mess around with. I just I don't know, I just didn't want to go back to it. So I've stayed away from it.
Yeah, I've just recently got into tobaccos. Seems like everything I put out anytime here recently has been tobaccos, and I got two more that I'm working on that are still going to be tobaccos. One of them is a dessert tobacco. Um, it it's an RY4, just done the way I like it. I don't care for TFA RY4 double. I like it, but I don't like it. I don't like it's got
Oh,
a dirty taste to it.
don't say that. I've just made my
And
first tobacco recipe up with that.
oh no,
Narcissist.
uh, I will tell you this: when you try it, if you do not like it, let it steep.
Yeah, well,
If
I've
you
got it
come
in.
back to it, if you still don't like it, let it steep. Because for me, that has to steep for like a month before I like it.
Yeah, well, Kegler 78, I think it is, on ATF. He's got one. He's got two narcissist ones. One's an RY4 double, and one's got that Holy Grail in it. I've mixed up the RY4 double. I've got that in the drawer. He said about 20 days. And I
Right.
was I was scared to go to the tobaccos because I didn't want to go just back to cigarettes. And I thought, tobacco, that's going to give you the taste of the cigarettes and whatnot. And I just wasn't sure.
Right.
But yeah, I mixed that up. And actually, I mixed up one of yours too. I mixed up truck and bourbon cream.
Yeah.
I mixed
Yeah.
that up the other this week too. And I've ate the 20 mils of that straight up.
Yeah,
Oh,
vaping
It's
tobacco didn't make me want to go back
it's
to
good.
smoking cigarettes at all. So, I mean, at least that was the good thing about it, though. Even though, I tried Ben's, smoke juice. Um, it was good, but it didn't make me crave for or want a cigarette again. No, definitely not.
I've just read in the chat that Nick Mitch is on zero nicotine after years. Well done.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
finally
and
managed my way
I
down to
agree with
one.
his. I agree with this comment too. I think at some point the end goal for everybody should be to be able to quit vaping as well. Like I've said, it's not 100% safe. We are still doing some amount of harm to our body. So as soon as we can give it up, we ought to give it up. But in the meantime, it's a lot better than smoking was. I'm not saying that I'll ever quit. I just think it's a good idea
Yeah.
to kind of keep that in the back of your head. You know, the day that you pick this up and you're just like, I don't need it, don't necessarily throw it away. Just put it in a cabinet somewhere.
Yeah.
And a couple of days, if you need it, it's there to come back to. But if you don't need it, there's no point in doing it. Yeah, so I've got that RY4 and people have heard me talk about a commercial liquid called Watson. It's a vanilla pipe tobacco. Okay, so it's vanilla with a little bit of caramel. Then on the very, very back is just a little bit of tobacco. I'm working on a version of that. It's not a clone by any means, but it's close enough that I don't need to buy that liquid anymore. And at $25 a bottle, I'll happily save the money.
Oh yeah.
So like I said, that one's called Watson. Mine's going to be called Sherlock. So yeah. I'm curious if there's anybody in chat that would like to jump on the show for a little bit. Can you put a link out there?
Yes, I can. Just give me a second to copy and throw that out there.
While he's working on that, Stalker, you got anything else, bud?
Oh, I don't have a wrench there, Mike, so that's not, they're going to have to copy and paste that.
Oh, gotcha. Type something in chat, Steve.
All right. Yeah, no, it's the same thing.
Now, what's look now with Salt Nick and Freebase Nick? I know the Salt Nick gets into your system faster and leaves your system faster, and the Freebase takes longer and stays longer, so to speak. Now, why is it? Let's say you have 3 milligrams of Freebase. Do they say you need more milligrams of Nick Salt?
To be honest, I've never used anything that had Nick Salt in it. I've never messed with Nick Salt, so I cannot 100% answer your question. Okay. The only thing that I do know is that Nick Salt acts a lot quicker on your system.
Yeah, well, I've heard all that.
That's just from hearing people say.
Yeah, same here. But everybody says you need more Nick Salt in your mix. And I'm not talking about in a pod device. I'm talking in a general device. And they reckon you should put more Nick Salt in. I can't understand that.
I think Simon would be able to answer that in chat. So Simon, if you're listening to that, you could answer that, because I know that Simon does use Nick Salts is mixed with them, so he knows.
Steve-O, you should have a wrench now, though.
Because Tam answered the question this morning. I've got some Nick Salt mixed up in the juice, and I need to bring it up because there's only 1 milligram. I need to bring it up to 3, and I've got Freebase. If I could mix the two together, and she said yes, that's fine. So I can add another 2 milligrams. But yeah, I know that, but I'm just curious as to why they say you need to have more Nick Salt than Freebase, because I do still have a bit of Nick Salt. I'm trying to keep that for the wife's pod for when she goes to work, because they reckon that's good for the pods, because you can put a bit higher Nick in it because you don't get as much vapor, which I do understand.
Right.
But yeah, it's just why you need more Nick Salt than Freebase. I couldn't understand it.
Yeah, and Simon is saying out there in response to that just because you use high Nick Salt doesn't mean you have to. You don't have to mix that way. He says, yes, you can. It will increase your throat hit a little bit, but not an issue.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, Roger. I'm not even going to try and pronounce Roger's last name. Sorry, mate. It's because people still is addicted to nicotine and the equipment ain't as good as general devices.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and pods aren't that good as equipment. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, I mean
yeah.
they don't quite deliver, what the other equipment that we have does.
Yeah, well, I know that goes into like the volume you're sucking into your lungs, yeah. Because of wife's on mouth to lung, and yeah, I'm direct to lung on the tanks and the drippers. Yeah, I know I get lots more cloud production than what she does, so I know I'm actually sucking in more nicotine than what she is on the pod device. Yeah, no
Yeah.
more vapor, I should say. Yeah,
Yep. Oh, that's interesting. Michael Morris says he mixes half and half, half freebase and half Nixle. That's interesting. I guess you got to be really careful with that kind of a combo, though.
well, oh, working it out would be yeah in the
Yeah,
juice
working it out,
calculator.
doing a half and half. Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
be careful. You definitely got to be careful with that.
Oh, I suppose if you mix it up into the like if you got the bottles of your freebase and your Nick salt, if you take 10 mils out of each and put it into a bottle, that would still go on your calculator the same as long as they're both PG or both VG,
Yeah.
and then that'd still work out the same
Correct.
amount of nicotine, I presume. Yeah, it should work out the same. Yeah, but yeah, they're just like little things. That I wasn't sure, and because it's nicotine, I don't want to go and bust anyone's. I don't want to choke the poor woman.
Oh, absolutely. So what you're saying is you don't want to become a news story.
Yeah, I don't want to become a news story.
Yeah, yeah, because they would print that one.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's all about the safety, and I'm trying to get her off the cigarettes. It's no good if she's going to have a bad experience.
Yep. Yeah. And it's about
Absolutely.
it's the same for me. It's all about the safety. I mean, I've got a child. Everybody knows that, and everything is out of reach.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be that next news story either.
but if she's
She's
going to
well
cough up every.
educated. She's well educated. I've sat down with her and talked to her about it. She's well educated, and there is no way in God's creation am I going to let her become that next news story. I'll be
Yeah,
damned. I've done everything. I've educated my daughter. I've done everything to ensure that she knows what it is and it's not for her to mess with or to touch or do
yeah,
anything with. So any other information that's been put out there about that or in relation to that is completely and 110% misleading, misguided, and misinformation. Because there's no way in God's green earth that I would do anything to intentionally harm my child or become the next person out there, to be that news story. It's just not going to happen. I can guarantee you that.
yeah. Yeah, well, my problem was with, if she's going to have every time she has a suck on it, if she keeps coughing the guts up, she's not going to keep wanting to do it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why I was unsure about the Nick side of it. And I don't want to give her a Nick OD either at the same token.
Nah, no, right, right.
I don't want too much Nick into her system. Get a headache or
and
whatever.
Stalker Simon said if you have any questions on Nick Salt, to hit him up on Discord and he'll answer them for you.
Yep, cool. Cheers, Simon. Yeah, no, Simon's pretty good. I've hit him up on a few things. I whacked a comment up on Discord earlier. 3 o'clock this morning, our time or something. I've been up all damn night, and Tam got back to me about mixing the two together. But yeah, which is pretty good. Discord's not too bad. But yeah, I just the other thing I've got about all this single flavour testing. You go on and you've got to try and work out on ELR and ATF how to single flavour test. What percentages to use. Now, what I can't understand is your single flavour test. This is only just rough figures here. Cream and soda, let's say. Your single flavour test that at 6%, but in a recipe you might use it at 2%. Why don't you single flavour test that at 2%?
Right, because in a recipe,
Okay.
you're going to have your base, okay, and then you're going to have some main notes, and then you're going to have accents on top of that. So that's the reason why there's the differences, why you may see as a single flavor it'll be at 6%, but then in a recipe it may be used at 2%, because that 2% would only be an accent to that recipe. So you're building up layers in a recipe, okay, and trying to get your base, your base, or your main note, and then you're accenting on top of that, right? And that's the reason why you would use it at much lower of a percentage, because then you don't want it to take over the mix. If you go and take that single flavor and mix it at that full 6%, anything else you're putting in behind it, it may just overrun it or stomp all over it, and you may not even taste it in a recipe. Or and they use it that way, like I said, just for an accent or a slight hint or taste of that note in the recipe.
But yeah, well, why wouldn't you just taste it at the 2%?
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Most of the time, if I'm doing single flavor test, I test at least 2 different percentages. So like you tested that at 6, okay? Like if I was going to go to 6 with that, I might test that one at 2, 4, and 6%.
Okay, yeah. Well, I haven't actually tested it
No.
yet. I'm just throwing figures out there because, yeah, I just haven't worked it out. Yeah. And if you go onto ELR and that, I think there's a lot of idiots that are just whacking numbers down.
There are.
And you have to test the flavors at varying percentages to determine where you enjoy that flavor, and see what you're getting out of it, see what you're tasting, see what you're getting at varying different percentages and stuff. So it really all just depends on the person.
Here's trouble.
Here is trouble. I thought I had to take off, but I've got another few minutes, so I thought I'd drop by. How are you, boys?
Cool. Appreciate it. Doing good, man. We were just talking about single flavor testing, and I was going to tell Stalker the way I do it personally. What size bottle did you mix that up in?
Well, I haven't actually done that as yet. I'm trying to find out all this information before I start doing it.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll pick a bottle size. It usually ends up being a 30 milliliter, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Okay. I'll start at my low percentage. Okay. And I mix up my 30 milliliter at a low percentage. After that steeps and I try it and I take my notes. Okay. Be sure to write down notes on the computer, on a pad, whatever.
Yep.
There's no wrong way to take notes. Just make them so that when you read it, you understand what they mean. It don't have to mean anything to anybody else, just to you. Okay. After I do that, I will take the top off of that bottle and I'll bump that up to my next percentage. Right. So I don't have 3 different bottles of that same concentrate. And then I'll let that sit, and then I'll taste that. And then if I'm going to do a third one, I'll do it at the third one. Now, at the end of all these, I've got all these 30 mils of testers. I look for things that I think will go together that I have a tester of. And that's an easy way to try it, right? Drip a little creaming soda, drip a little raspberry, and see how they go together.
I've actually done that with a couple of mixes.
Rather than starting off with a brand new mix. Yeah.
Oh, Mrs. Stalker's bringing me coffee. Awesome.
Milo.
Oh, nice. Single flavour tests, look, they're a massive pain in the ass, let's face it. But when you do them, I tend to do it a little bit different to Mike. I do two. I do one at 1% and one at 4%. And I test both of them. I mean, it's going to depend on, like a knuckle test or a water test first. But I get the 1 and 4% and then mix those together at differing percentages. So I get a bottle, I go, I might put a little bit of 1 in, a little bit of the 4 in, and get a percentage of 2, and play around with those percentages. But, it's the very first thing I do is if I get a flavour, like, what's this one? Cheesecake from Jungle Flavors. The first thing that I do is a nice little knuckle test. Right, that tastes okay, right? Okay. So I'm saying, all right, that's okay. So I know that flavour is not super duper strong, right? Because it tastes not too bad. If I then go and grab a Flavora Rich Cinnamon, which tastes like absolute crap on your finger, it is super strong. So it gives you an idea of where you're going to start your test. But what I will do when I do a knuckle test, instead of just dripping it on the knuckle, I rub it in, have a little sniff, and then just leave it for that little bit of time, and it will actually tone it down a fair bit. I mean, you can test it in cream, right? So you get a bit of whipped cream, a couple of drops in the whipped cream into the gob, gives you an idea where you start your single flavour tests. And there you go. Look at Paul just did 102 single flavour tests. Sucks to be you, brother.
What I used to do when I first started was I would take a syringe and put 5 mils of water in it, stick it in a coffee cup, and I'd put 1 drop in back in the day. I'd put 1 drop in. If it was weak enough and I really didn't get enough taste of it, I'd put in 2 drops and try it again. And I wouldn't swallow it. I would just swish it around in my mouth and spit it out, and then, kind of taste and everything like that. And that gave me a quick idea of exactly what that flavor tastes like and what I'd kind of be getting out of it as far as taste is concerned. So that's how I did it back in the day.
If it's a citrus, put 3 drops in a bottle of beer.
Beer. There you go.
Seriously,
I used to test with water so I could get a quick idea of what I was dealing with. So I didn't have to mix it all up and decide what my flavoring percentages would be. At that point, I was just testing purely to see what that flavor was like and how strong it was.
Yeah, so I mean, look, where you start your single flavour test is probably the important thing. I'll depending on the brand too. Like, I mean, you can look at ELR and look at percentages on ELR. I'll knock either a half or a third off most of the percentages on ELR. But when it comes to Flavora, I won't even use ELR. I'll go. There's a nice little doco that's posted up on ELR with starting percentages for FLV. It's an Excel file that comes direct from Flavora. If you're testing with Flavora, I suggest you have a look at that. And there are still some in there that you just go, nah, like Jammy Berry, I think they recommend 1%. No. Don't do that.
A lot of them, a good majority of them I've seen are used at less than 0.5%.
Yeah.
A good majority of them.
And there are some that, that's too high.
And that's what I was going to say. I mean, Jammy Berry at 1% is fine, but that's all you're going to taste in the end.
Exactly.
Because that flavor grows so much as it steeps.
Yeah.
It does. It's a grower, not a shower.
Yeah, testing the stronger flavors is a tough one. Like medicine flower, there's also some TPA which are really powerful flavors. and you see people basically coming out and saying this is the worst flavour I've ever tasted. Generally, it's because they're too high.
Yeah.
There really isn't a flavour in existence except taro that you can't make taste good. Right, so if you find the right percent, you will get that flavour. If you like the flavour, that's a different kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah.
Taro to me tastes like dirt and potato. So at any percentage, cardamon's another one. Like, I'm super sensitive to that. I can taste one drop in 30 mil, and it takes over everything for me. Some people like it at 1%, and I'm, it's just, you will find you've got sensitivities to some flavors that you won't gel with. Maraschino, cherry.
Yeah, that for me is all of your cooling. So any of your WS, any mint, any peppermint, any kind of cooling, like your Flavor Arts Polar Blast. What happens to me is I've got an extreme sensitivity to it. That when anything is mixed with that stuff, basically all I get is that cooling effect. That's all I can taste. I can't taste anything in behind it. It's like I've got a super sensitivity to that stuff, and it's a reason why I don't mix with that stuff and use it myself. I wish I wasn't that hypersensitive to it, but I am, because I think it would be cool to kind of have a cooling effect to say like maybe a mango soda or a lemon lime soda or something like that. I think it would be so cool to be able to experience that kind of effect. But because I'm so hypersensitive to it, it drowns out any other flavors that are mixed with it. I don't get anything else. I just, bam, it's like, that cooling just, that's all I get.
Michael Morris, I sort of agree with you, but I sort of don't as well. TPA cheesecake is not good.
I have the same reaction that you do. Single by itself as a main note, I get dirty feet off of it. Whatever that you want to call it. It's just nasty.
Yep.
But it does work as an accent note in the background, just to add a little different characteristic to other flavors.
Yeah, exactly. So look, when it comes down to it, you can make it work and work in your favour, but it's just the way that you use it that will make the difference. Like, I mean, Real Flavours cheesecake is another stinker. But when it comes down to it, there's virtually no crust, and it's just pretty much the cheese. So if you use that as a full cheesecake, you're going to get a terrible mix. If you use that as an accent to say like New York cheesecake or something like that, you're going to push that cheesecake in a slightly different direction. And if you use them as accent flavors rather than main notes, then you'll be ahead of the game. So, it's horses for courses. If you know the flavor is a stinker by itself, try it as an accent. It might work for you, just to push something really low, just to push it in a slightly different direction, which, it's always a good thing to have slightly different notes to your juice, like something that's a little bit of a mystery. I tend to do that a fair bit. I'll put something in really low just to push it in a slightly different direction, so that if I make another juice with that same flavour, they're not identical. You can get identical notes in the juice, but what you want to do is change the identity of that main note. So any flavour can do that, which is probably look, it's not, if it's a stinker, throw it if you don't use it. But I would suggest try it low, and you might find that instead of tossing it in the bin, you use it for something a little bit different.
That's what we call flavor bending.
Yeah. So
you're taking a main note and accenting it in a way that kind of changes it into a different direction.
Build your own.
And if you really don't like it, you just give it to a friend.
Well, I mean, look, there's a lot. I'll use chocolate as an example. There's a lot of chocolates out there that taste dry and chalky and not very pleasant to vape. Chuck it in some ice cream, and make a milkshake out of it. Do something with it. You know, there's going to be a use for it no matter what. It doesn't have to be in vaping. They're food flavors. You can use them in food. You know, have a cheesecake beer. Ooh. But you get what I mean. but I mean, you know, I quite often use like I'm a big fan of FLV lime. It is super strong. 3 drops in a bottle of beer, in a stubby of beer. You know, particularly a Corona or something like that. Beautiful. Don't have to add that lemon
or some Flavora lime wedge.
Yeah, not as strong, but yeah. So, you know, just find your happy spot with, if you're going to use it as a food flavouring, find your happy spot. And I'll tell you what, that's the only thing that I used Flavour West yellow cake for, is I actually chucked it in some ice cream. It's pretty good, because I won't vape it, but I've got, I had a bottle, because everyone bought a bottle of Flavour West yellow cake. Let's face it.
Absolutely.
Got it. I've got the Jungle Flavors yellow cake on the old wish list, because I've heard a lot about good things about that flavoring.
Yeah, 1-to-1, beautiful. Yeah. So sub out. Yep, there you go. Paul's got Capella lemon lime in beer. Yep, absolutely.
There you go. Yeah, I've got that one.
but yeah, look, I mean, you know, when it comes down to using flavors, the only one that, you know, I used 3 times, and each time has been unsuccessful to me. I actually gave a bottle to a friend of mine. He said it's like vaping a potato, which was TPA taro. And some people love it. That's one that for me is just nasty. Nasty.
I like a little dirt with my potato.
Well,
and now I just need steak and eggs.
No, it's not even a good potato. It's like a raw potato. You know, like if it was a cooked potato, then yeah, you could probably use it. But no. Don't know how many times I could say nut to TPA taro. And if anyone wants an almost full bottle, I'll send it to you. Enjoy.
Stalker, you got any other questions, Bob?
Yeah, okay. Well, that brings up, he's brought up part of it, that the Flavour West yellow cake and all these diazetones and diapatones or whatever they are. What's, like, seriously, what's the real go with all that sort of stuff?
Personal choice. A lot of Flavour West, the majority of Flavour West none are developed for vaping. They're all developed for food flavours. Right?
Pretty old, yeah.
With a fair number of the Flavour West, they've actually got sugar syrup in them, which is why they're coil killers. But sugar syrup can degrade, and it turns to the point where you can be vaping carbon, which may or may not have a hand in creating cancer. So for me, I'm not a DAP convert. I vape DAP. I like it. Tastes good. But sugar for me, or corn syrup, which some of the Flavour West actually have in them, for me is a no-go. Ages ago I did a post on ELR. If you do a search for flavors containing sugar, I went through every single Flavour West MSDS sheet and picked out every single one that had a sugar in it, a sugar syrup, corn syrup, all sorts of stuff. It's a fairly long list of flavours from Flavour West that personally I wouldn't use. But it comes down to personal choice. A lot of people say that, the percentage at which you're using it is so low that, it's still better than cigarettes. And, yeah, they're right. And that's fine.
It's so far diluted down. By the time you stick anything that has any DAP in it, and you're diluting it down along with other flavorings, and then your VG and your PG and your NIC, it's probably in the microns of, it's just such a minute amount in the vapor, I would think, by the time you've diluted it down with everything that you mix into it with it.
Yeah, I'll just post that link in the chat. I haven't got a wrench though, Mike, but that's all right. So it's there in the chat if you want to have a read of it. There's a fair few of them that have sugar syrup, which is fructose. I've put the percentages in there, the CAS numbers. There's, some of them actually, like the Dutch apple, a Dutch apple pie has actual molasses in it.
Oh.
The grape sodas, sucralose, not really too much of an issue. There's salt in some of them. There's, peanut essence in some of them, like actual peanut essence. So with those peanut ones, if you've got a peanut allergy, they are ones that you really, I'm not sure whether vaping it will create a reaction, but for me, it'd be something if someone has a peanut allergy or someone that you are supplying juice to has a peanut allergy, I wouldn't play the game with that one at all. So, but have a bit of a peek.
I gave you a wrench.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I'll post the link again now so that people can just click on it. There we go. There we go. So, yeah, it's not a case of don't do. Everyone should do what they're comfortable with. I'm not, a nanny. I'm not your mother. If you want to vape it, vape it. But you should be aware of what's in it. And if it is 100% okay to vape, and I think everyone should be informed about shit like that. That's
Well, right. And like you say, I think it does come down to personal decision. I myself, I love Flavor Wealth Yellow Cake. Jungle Flavors is a very good substitute.
Yep.
I've seen in chat that Mullenberry is coming out with the yellow cake as well. So if there's an alternative that you like, I would suggest, use the alternative. But if it's something that you just got to have, maybe you don't have to have it every day, all day, Well,
see,
just maybe limited, just.
So it's the same with colours, like coloured flavourings. With coloured flavourings, I'm all for not adding flavourings with colourings to a commercial juice. It's just not something. For me personally, if there is a flavour that I really, really can't do without and it has colour in it, it's me. I don't mind it so much. I won't deliberately add extra colour to it.
Yeah.
But if there is no colourless version of that particular flavour, then yeah, I'll use it, but I'll use it for personal use only, not in a commercial recipe. So, it's one of them that is in that realm is the Decadent Vapors absinthe. It's green, but it is the best absinthe that you can buy. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So it's something that I wouldn't use in a commercial mix. But for me personally, here it is here.
Gotcha. Goose Girl wants to know, and one of these flavors I don't like. The other one I haven't worked with a whole lot. With fall mixing coming up, will yam and pumpkin be okay after a 2-week steep? For me, yam, from Flavor's yam, I don't care for it. That's probably because I'm using it way too high. So I'm going to try it again. The only pumpkin that I have, I think, is Hangin pumpkin, or pumpkin pie, it may even be, but it's just the filling of the pumpkin. For me, I like to try to let that sit for 3 to 4 weeks, the Hangin pumpkin. So what do you all think? Do you use those, Simon?
Yeah, not a massive fan of yam personally, and to be quite honest, not really in my sort of meat eating realm to be going with a pumpkin style vape.
Yeah.
But it's something that
and I just go ahead.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, I know there are people out there that love the yam. Tam, you love yam. There we go. Sam, I am. but yeah, look, I mean, it'll come down to personal taste. For me, unless you're making, I think Tam did one just recently, which is a candied yam. Because of the underlying sweetness of the VG, anything that translates to a savoury vape, unless you're adding like a sour wizard or something like that, I think it's called, I can't remember, that underlying sweetness will ruin a savoury vape. It turns just the VG will sweeten it, to the point where it isn't a true representation of the flavour unless you add something to remove that that underlying sweetness. So, yams are semi-sweet. Pumpkin, maybe not so much.
Yeah, and Goose Girl, what I would suggest is you can look at Tammy's recipe and see how long she suggested for steep time. And also, Folk Art did a pie recipe last fall that used yam and I think pumpkin as well. Maybe go check out that recipe and see what he suggested for steep time as a better judge of how long that it needs to steep.
There is one that I'd love to recreate. Now, I remember when I was back in the States, every year 7-Eleven came out around the fall time with a limited edition of a pumpkin spice cappuccino. Man, I used to get that all the time when that came out. That was awesome. I'd love to play with some pumpkin spice and some coffee to kind of recreate that kind of a taste.
I would start with the Vape Train coffee milk froth.
Yeah.
And maybe Flavora pumpkin spice. That one's pretty manageable.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of interested in that.
I don't know where else I would go from there.
No, there you go. Tam is saying yam is sweet. So yeah, look, I mean, it'll work if it's sweet yam. I've got to tell you, and I confess, I did a single flavour test and just went, nah, that's not for me. So it's a personal taste thing.
I got nothing from yam but earthiness, just very earthy.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't care for it. But like I said, I think I may have mixed it at like 2%. So that was probably my first mistake right there.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, not so much. Look, a lot of Flavora flavors have like a double apex where you can use it down really low, get all the nuances, and they're good when you're mixing with other similar strength flavors. Sometimes when you're mixing with, different flavor brands, you have to push it a little bit. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. But a double apex with a Flavora is you might be able to use it at 2.5%, but you might also get a better flavor at 0.5. You still get the flavor, but you miss out on some of the flavor notes. They either come through too strong or too low. Personal preference for me is to start any Flavora super low, add it if you need it, and go from there. It's the same with medicine flower. You do the same thing. Like, take wild raspberry, you can put that in a mix at 0.6. It will stomp all over everything, right? And all you'll get is wild raspberry. If you use that at 0.3, you'll get a lovely, nice raspberry. So it all comes down to is what you are trying to achieve at the end of the day with using that flavour. If you want it to be full on, with Flavora, the range can be quite high, you'll find that if you use it down low, then you'll get some extra nuance to it. If you push it up high, you will get something maybe completely different to what the flavour is. Take, was it the guava? Use that at 1.5%, it's grapefruit. You know, use it at 0.5%, it's guava. Just one of those things. It's you know, playing with percentages, you can achieve lots of different results with the same flavour. But I would suggest start at low, move from there. You know, it saves you money as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I've been working on a yellow cake with guava in it, a grapefruit cake. It's very different, we'll say, but the contrast is good.
Yeah. I think one of the most frustrating things with mixing is that quite often you'll get a nice taste on the knuckle of a juice, and it won't quite vape the same. It's a super frustrating thing.
Yeah.
I know Steve A's gone through it as well, and we were talking about it just the other day. I'm playing with one at the moment where I'm doing a marmalade cake. Now, off the knuckle, perfect. Everything I want. I used a marmalade and toast flavour to get the marmalade into the cake, push the marmalade a little bit with VTA, orange marmalade or English marmalade, whichever one it is, just to hide, trying to hide the toast notes with the cake. Now, the issue that I get is when I vape it, I can taste the toast, but when I taste it, I can't taste the toast. So it's a massive pain in the ass when that happens, and sometimes it's better to walk away and leave it, come back to it and make your adjustments, you know, in a month or two. But it can be super frustrating doing it, you know, like that, and sometimes it sucks. But
Yeah, I gotta agree. Yeah, you mix something up. And I always knuckle taste the concentrate, and then I'll vape it and see how it goes. But I've had so many where, oh my God, this tastes absolutely awesome, and you vape it and you're like, okay, what just happened?
I think that happens to a lot of people. I mean, look at Fresh. How many times have you been watching his show and he'll go, please vape like you taste? So obviously it happens to everybody, and that is frustrating. I've got one right now that's delicious on the knuckle, but it's that all flavor of raspberry and cream. I've lowered the percentages. I've changed everything around. It tastes great on the knuckle, but to vape it, it's just flat. There's like very little flavor.
Yep. I did the same. I did a Tipsy Moo, it was called, I think, which was an attempt at Tia Maria and milk. Off the knuckle, perfect. Bang on Tia Maria and milk. Vaping it, chocolate. All I got, chocolate. None of the rummy notes, nothing, just chocolate. And I hit my head against the wall on that for quite some time, and I've walked away from it. I'll come back to it, but you know, I've walked away from it for a little while until I sort of find that missing link.
Yeah, I've got it the opposite way around from what Michael has. Like if I smell the concentrate, I can pick up on a pepper note. For example, a perfect one is the TPA vanilla bean ice cream. I pick up a very good scent of that pepper. I even get it from Liquid Barn's vanilla ice cream. But when I mix it and I vape it, I don't taste any pepper. So I'm like the reverse of him, which is weird. I can smell it, but then I mix it up and I vape it, and I don't get that pepper at all. It's really weird.
Yes, lots of fun times in this game. Sometimes when you just hit your head against the wall. Like I've had a white whale for probably 2 years now. Mike, I don't expect you'll know this. There's a lolly from Allen's over here called a redskin.
Oh yeah.
Been my white whale for 2 years. Trying to, I reckon I've done 25 mixes to try and nail this particular one. I might have it now, but I know Vape Train are putting out a new flavour which will absolutely nail it. The one that I've got is probably, I don't know, maybe to use a term, 70% there. Whether I can actually nail it, that's neither here nor there.
That's
But
kind of
it's
like a hard taffy, isn't it?
yeah. It's a raspberry.
It's a hard taffy. Yeah.
Yeah, raspberry taffy, basically. So chewy raspberry taffy, not like a Starburst. It's apparently Vape Train have got a new flavour coming out called red chewy candy. I think the one I'm using at the moment is red soft candy, which is probably about 50% red skin. Apparently, I was speaking to Luke the other night about the chewy. He says it's about a 9 out of 10 for a red skin. So, a couple of little nuances with that might get it over the line. But sometimes this game can be super frustrating if you've got a white whale. And I suggest everyone gets one. Yeah. Everyone should have that juice which they chase, because when you get it, man, it's that moment where you're just like, yeah.
Oh, exactly. The one that I find really hard for me that I don't get is the Capella Serial 27. All I get is straight AP out of it. It doesn't remind me of anything else. Like some people say they actually get like cornflakes out of it. And for me, it's just straight up AP.
Absolutely.
That's all I
get. I get a slight cornflakes out of that. If you mix it with FA corn, then you will get cornflakes. But FA corn is punch in the dick strong. So I would suggest, that's one that you buy a 10 mil of and dilute it. Yeah. But are they both out, are they, Paul? Well, I'll be all over Vape Train again. Already been there twice this week. Damn it.
Let's welcome Addie Tooney to the chat. Thanks for joining, Addie. And I gave you a wrench, buddy. If you want to put your usual links out there, you're more than welcome to do it. Now, do you think, like Michael Morris was saying, that he gets pepper and chemicals from a lot of flavors? I know some of that is just going to be like how his palate is, right? Yep. But I'm wondering if some of it couldn't be the strength that he's using those flavors at. Maybe if he used them lower, he wouldn't get that.
Yeah, I had a discussion, it was a couple of years ago now, with Pro Vapes on ELR, and he was pretty much of the opinion that if you use something that you get pepper of from lower, then you won't get pepper. I'm not 100% convinced on that. Some vanillas have a bit of a spicy note, which comes off as pepper to people. And if you find if you are a pepper taster, I think Fidalgo is a pepper taster as well. I would suggest trying to use them as an accent rather than a main note, and just seeing at what stage, at what percentage you actually start to get that pepper note, because I do get a little bit of spicy pepper from some of the TPA vanillas, but if I drop that right back down to a 0.5, 0.6, somewhere around there, I don't actually get that pepper. Whether it's being drowned out by other flavours in the mix, I'm not 100% sure of. But when it comes down to it, I still say that every flavour can be used. It just comes down to whether you like the actual flavour or not. And I tend not to use the TPA because if someone is a pepper taster, then, well, you know, you can find plenty of other things that you don't get pepper from. But I would still say that you could probably use it at a percentage where you don't get that pepper, whether the pepper is hidden by other flavourings or whether that pepper is just not as prevalent because you haven't used as much. So, yeah, I firmly believe that every flavour is usable. It's just finding the right window of use for it. But, yeah, prove me wrong. It can be wrong.
Thanks, Addy, for all those links, man. We greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I don't know about you all, but we've been going about an hour and a half. I think it's time to wrap it up here.
I've got about 4 minutes
Get
before I have to shoot through anyway, so good.
All right. Well, where can people find you then? We'll start with you.
Where can people find me? Oh, well, Vaping Community. I'm one of the admins there. It's got a nice little calculator if you want to have a play. And, of course, ELR. I don't release too many recipes on ELR, mainly on Vaping Community. But you'll find me in a heap of groups like Steve-O's group and Frank's and Tam's and on Discord. And I'm WAFTAM everywhere. So, you know, if you've got a question, feel free to hit me up. I'm more than happy to help you. So, you know, particularly if you are thinking of looking at Nick salts, I've looked at them quite extensively. I've been using them for nearly 3.5 years now. So if you've got a question about Nick salts, I'll do my best to alleviate any questions or fears that you may have over using them. So, yeah, look, hit me up if you feel the need. Steve-O, on to you.
Yeah, all right, guys. So you find Aaron and I on Down the Rabbit Hole Mixing on our YouTube channel, where we hang out and everything. Don't forget about the rest of the shows out there with Tam, Homegrown Alchemy, and the OMATs and them. You'll find me on the different Discord channels. I'm usually in and around Discord. DIY, E-Juice, Freedom to Mix with Developed guys, and yeah, Tam's got a channel. I'm on there as well. So I'm also available on Facebook. So yeah, if you need anything, just reach out to me. Let me know. You'll find me on Facebook. Other than that, yeah, I'm around. So if you need me, just reach out to me.
Just one more thing, which I did forget to mention. Tammy's show Monday afternoon for you guys in the States, Tuesday morning for us here in Australia. We'll be talking about a controversy. No, not really. We're just going to be talking about steeping and methods of mixing and stuff like that. So, you know, tune in and see if you can, you know, pull down our ideas, because, you know, anything that, you know, we will learn too, hopefully. So I'm always open to hearing different ideas about steeping, because I have my own and they're fairly tunneled, as does everyone, has their own method, but we'll be discussing a few of them on the show. So be interesting to see you all there. Back over to Stalker. Sorry about that.
That's on the Monday show, right?
Yeah, on the Omets and Friends.
On the Monday show?
Yeah, the Omets and Friends, yep.
Yeah. Tammy's other show, Homegrown Alchemy, usually ran today. That's actually going to be running tomorrow, I believe, at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
There will be a show tomorrow. Just wanted to mention that. And Stalker, what do you got, bud?
Oh, I'm just on Discord. Nothing much, really. I'm in a couple of sites on Discord. Homegrown Alchemy, Down the Rabbit Hole. Yeah, that's about it, really. I'm only all new into this.
Too, there.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook there, yeah. That's Kev Shell Vapes on Facebook. But yeah, that's about it for me.
I just wanted to say a
All right,
huge
good
thank
deal,
you,
Will.
Mike. I wanted to thank you and for having us on, and
Yeah.
it's been awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for all the advice I've got.
Absolutely.
Real helpful. It's hard getting into it because a lot of the shows, they just, because they've been doing it for so long, it's not anything against any of the shows, but they sort of think that you know it all already.
I don't know it all.
Well,
I'll be the first to
No,
admit.
but I don't mean know it all, but
no.
like just the
Yeah,
tiny
no,
little
but
things.
that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. Like I said, I wanted to have experienced people on, and then we put a link out in chat for people that had questions or just wanted to come in and hang out. I think there's a place for everybody here.
Yeah.
Where we can all hang out, have a good time, and learn from each other. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here.
I think one of the things with a lot of the bigger shows is that they don't probably get the opportunity to be as personalised. They're tackling a wider audience, but if you want to drop by on Facebook to Homegrown Academy, and if you tag myself, Tam, Liana on the OMET show, we'll if you've got a question, we'll try to cover it. We're trying to do a little bit of structure and go through different things when it comes to mixing techniques and stuff like that. But if you've got a specific question and we can answer it, then hit us up, because we're always looking for ideas that people are interested in discussing. So if you've got an idea, please throw it at us, and we'll ignore you. No, I'm not. we'll try to get to you. But yeah, all good.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Again, thanks for watching. Steve, man, thanks for stepping up. If you hadn't pushed the stream tonight, there would not have been a show at all. So I appreciate that, bro.
No, I'm more than willing to help anyone
and again,
else out there.
Y'all are always welcome.
Yeah, if you guys need
Good
a
deal.
hand, I'm hosting the show here for Mike. But if anyone else runs into trouble and they need a backup and I'm available, I will be here for you. You just let me know, and I will give you a hand.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Be good to each other.
We're going to, yes, we're going to get out of here. Y'all, think about what you're doing before you do it. Decide I'm going to do something. Think about it. Think about it again. And if you still want to do it, think about it. That's all I got, y'all. Peace. Have a good weekend. See y'all next week.
There you go.
Just guys, see ya.
All right.